بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ثم الصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise and thanks are due to the Almighty Allah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift of life and for blessing us to be Muslims. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing of being Muslims and for the gift of Islam as a religion. We kindly ask him to bestow peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to his family members and all those people who follow his footsteps until the day of judgment. I salute you all with the best salutation of Islam, that Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. Dear viewers, today inshallah ta'ala I would like us to look at the concept of Shahada, since Shahada is the certificate that each and every Muslim must be holding, because it is the one that acknowledges that someone is a Muslim. So if at all you don't have Shahada, then you are not a Muslim. And you cannot perform or fulfill the 4 pillars of Islam when you don't have the Shahada. And that's why it comes in the first position. Out of the 5 pillars of Islam, Shahada takes the first position, as it came in the narration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was narrated by Umar ibn al-Khattab. And Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول بني الإسلام على 5: شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وصوم رمضان وحج البيت الله من استطاع إليه السبيل. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that narration or in that hadith, he talked about the pillars of Islam, and he said that Islam as a religion is built on 5 pillars. We all know pillars, but Islam is built on 5 pillars. And when he was narrating, or when he was outlining the pillars of Islam, he said that Shahada is in the first position, as he said that Shahadatu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, that someone should acknowledge that Allah is worthy to be worshipped, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger. Then the other 4 pillars, Salah, Zakah, fasting and making Hajj, they came last. But in the first position we have Shahada. So the word Shahada, it can be got from the kalima, or from the concept of monotheism, which is La ilaha illallah. And that concept La ilaha illallah has got the correct interpretations and the wrong interpretations according to what people perceive. But as far as the Muslim scholars say, that the word La ilaha illallah, it is called Kalimat Tawheed, the concept of monotheism. So every Muslim must be holding that concept. He or she must be knowing the interpretation or the meaning of the word La ilaha illallah. He must be knowing the pillars, the conditions and whatever can nullify that shahada. So we shall begin with the interpretation, the meaning of the word La ilaha illallah, since it is the shahada, it is the certificate that every Muslim holds. If you are asked that what makes you to be a Muslim, you must show the certificate, which is the shahada. So the word La ilaha illallah, which in simple terms means that there is no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah. There is no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah, and that is kalima, that is shahada. The moment someone recites it from his heart to his tongue, then that person qualifies to be a Muslim. But if at all you don't have that certificate, you have not narrated it the way how it is supposed to be narrated, and you don't have it from your heart, then you're not considered to be a Muslim. But now let's look at La ilaha illallah, its correct interpretation. They say that La ilaha illallah, it means La ma'abuda bihaqqin illallah. There is no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah. There is no one who is truly supposed to be worshipped except Allah, and that is La ilaha illallah. The moment you don't put the word haqq, truly, then your interpretation will not be correct for that kalima or for that concept. Why? Because there are some other things, or there are some other gods that people worship, and yet they are not creators. They have never created anything. Let it be a small bird. They can't even manage to create one. But the only creator is Allah, and is the one who is worthy to be worshipped. So if you find other people worshipping cows, people worship mountains, rivers, lakes, trees, and even human beings. Some human beings are worshipped. But all those things cannot be created. They can't create anything. But they were also created like other creatures. So that implies that you cannot worship something that was created. And who created it? It is Allah. Then who qualifies to be worshipped? Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that أَفَمَنْ يَخْلُقْ كَمَنْ لَا يَخْلُقْ. Can they be equal? The one who creates and the one who doesn't create, they can never be equal. So who creates? It is Allah. For human beings, what we do, that some of us misinterpret to be creating, for us we do manufacture or we make, but we don't create. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for him, he created us from nowhere. But for the human beings, we can manufacture phones, we can manufacture cars, we can do some other things, but with the creation, it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who does that. And that's why we call him, or we give him that attribute in our different local languages. The Baganda call Allah Katonda, because they know that is the one who created Yatonda. The Banyankole call him Ruhanga, because they know he is the one who created. So, La ma'abuda bihaqqin illallah. The only one who is truly supposed to be worshipped is Allah. And the other things that are created, and at the same time people worship them and take them, consider them to be their gods, who al-batil, all those are false gods. So whenever we are to worship that activity or that action of worshipping should only be done to Allah, but not to the creatures. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded us to know who is supposed to be worshipped. In the Quran, He said that فَعَلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. People should know, people should seek for knowledge about who is supposed to be worshipped. And that's why He commanded that فَعَلَمْ, you should know that verily Allah is worthy to be worshipped. Or there is nothing worthy to be worshipped except Allah. You must put that exception, that Allah is the only one to be worshipped. And that implies that other things which are worshipped, they are just idols and they are false gods. They are not supposed to be worshipped in real sense because they have never created anything. So you cannot leave the one who created and then you worship the one that was created instead. There are two different things: the creator and the creature. The creator is the one who created the creature, and all of us, including the animals, the physical features like mountains, rivers, all of those were created by who? By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He is worthy to be worshipped. And that's why Muslims, the concept of Shahada, we must conceptualize it, we must put it in our hearts and follow it without making any mistake. The moment you consider any other thing besides Allah, then that means you have associated something to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As some people always say. Now, currently in our country, there is a scenario that is prevailing, and very many people are taking it, or their certificates, their shahadas may be spoiled because of people considering other things. For example, if you consider other religions other than Islam, then that implies that really you're associating some other things with Allah. As a Muslim, you're not supposed to associate anything with Allah, because the moment you do that, then your shahada will be nullified. It will not be considered. And every prayer that you'll be performing it on a wrong certificate. Take an example, a student who completed Senior 4. After completing Senior 4, he receives a certificate from UNEB or from any examination organization that sets exams. And when the student receives that certificate, it will be having all the subjects that he did or that she did, the ones that he passed and the ones that he or she failed. So, if you're going to join another institution, let's say you are going to go to HSC, or what we call A level, advanced level, you must present the certificate of O level. And to be admitted in A level, they will consider the subjects that you passed, the ones which are on your certificate. They cannot give you the subject which you never performed well at O level. So this certificate implies that you qualify to be given a certain combination at A level because of what you did at O level and what you passed. So the Shahada is a certificate that will help you to perform prayers, do fast the month of Ramadan, make Hajj, and also give Zakah. If you don't have that Shahada, then you don't qualify. That's why all the 4 pillars, Salah, Zakah, fasting, and Hajj, they all ask for that certificate, that there is a condition for someone to perform that pillar, let's say a prayer, it must be performed by someone who is a Muslim, and who is someone who is the person who qualifies to be a Muslim? The one who holds Shahada. If you don't hold Shahada, which is the certificate, and that certificate must be written on La ilaha illallah, which means La ma'abudan bihaqqin illallah. So after knowing that, then there you qualify to start performing prayers, because you hold the Shahada. You have got the certificate that makes you, or that acknowledges that you are a Muslim. But who is a true Muslim is the one who holds the true Shahada, meaning you have never associated anything with Allah. You have never practiced shirk, which is polytheism. Shirk is the greatest sin that someone can do, and it makes him cease to be a Muslim. So the moment you associate anything with Allah, then you are not considered to be a Muslim. I was talking about the scenario that took place in some few days back here in our country, Uganda, whereby a certain church in Indeba was demolished by some people at night, and in the morning they found when the church was down, completely down, after having been demolished. But some people have come up to criticize and to express their sympathy to the non-Muslims, that really they are very sorry to what happened. And people went beyond and said that really the house of God has been demolished. How can a Muslim utter out such a word, that the house of God has been demolished, yet the only houses of God that we know are mosques? A church has never been a house of God. The church, or all churches, are not houses of God. The only house of God, the only house of worship is a mosque, according to the Islamic doctrines, according to the Islamic teachings. But for some Muslims, we do make mistakes, and that one affects our Shahada. It affects our Shahada. Reason being, in the Shahada, there is that element that the only true God to be worshipped is Allah. And what do people in the churches do worship? Do they worship Allah only? Or do they know who is Allah? If they don't know who is Allah, then they can't worship Him. That's why you find them worshipping the creature. You find people worshipping Jesus, and they refer to Him as Son of God, which is wrong. God does not produce. Lam yalid. He does not produce. Walam yulad, nor was He produced. And walam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. And there is nothing compared to Him. You can't compare Jesus with God. God was never created, and Jesus was created. He was carried in the womb of Maryam, for 9 months like any other creature. He takes food like any other creature. He sleeps. He forgets like any other creature. But all other things you cannot attribute them to Allah. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has never felt asleep, nor will He ever feel like sleeping. But you find people in the churches worshipping Jesus. People worship Mary, the mother to Jesus. They worship Him. They worship her, which is wrong. Who is supposed to be worshipped? Allah. Do people in churches worship Allah? No. Then how can you call a church house of God? Which God are you talking about? Unless you mean the God of small G-O-D, but not God of capital G-O-D. In Islam, the only God we worship is the one of capital G-O-D. That is God. And in Islam, we consider him to be Allah. We call him Allah because that is his name. That is the most beautiful name of Allah. Allah. You will never find it in any other religion. But for our counterparts in the churches, they do worship other things other than Allah. Then we cannot consider churches to be houses of God. We can't consider them to be places of worship. Why? Because in Islam, what we call the place of worship is the mosque. But you find someone